Hi, everybody. How are you doing? I'm Dr. Gail, and this is Teresa. And thanks, Teresa, for joining us today. She has some interesting stories and interesting experiences that we're going to be talking about today. She is somebody that you're all seeing in the chat all the time. And it looks like we only have a few people coming in right now. It looks like Debbie at Three Shifting Girls, hello, and hey, Faye Cole. While everybody's coming in, and everybody, I have a thunderstorm going on, so I hope my internet holds up. But if it doesn't, then Teresa might be here by herself. But hey, Kilo B24, thanks for coming in today. Thanks for sharing your time with us. And well, Teresa, let's just talk a little bit about you. Let people know exactly who you are and a little bit about your background.
Well, hi, everybody. This is Teresa. I am an experiencer. I live near Lake Michigan, and it's a beautiful space. I love Michigan. I'm in my mid-60s. I have 2 children and 6 grandchildren.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Well, there's a set of twins in there, so, that helps. Okay. I am retired.
Retired what?
Oh, well, my last job was working in the hospitals during COVID, which is how I got the long haul syndrome and stuff. So that was my last job. Loved it.
And what did you do in the hospital?
I was patient transport. So I'm the person who comes into your room and moves you onto a stretcher. And
we depended on y'all a lot because as a nurse in the hospital and the operating room, we use transport all the time.
Yes, great exercise. And being an extroverted extrovert, one of my favorite jokes, I put people on the stretcher and then you have to pump up the stretcher to get it moving. Especially with the guys that go like, well, while I got you up here, do you want me to rotate your tires or move your chassis? So that was fun. I am now rehabbing a home and turning my lawn into a wildlife habitat. I'm actually certified by the Natural Wildlife Federation as a habitat. I love hobbies. I especially love to sew. I made all my little kids hot costumes from pteranodons to whatever. I belly dance.
That part is super interesting. So this will blow over the belly dancing.
Well, I didn't start until my mid-30s because of kids and money and stuff, but I always loved the dance form, and it's one of the few dance forms where you can be a woman of a certain age and a certain size and still be considered beautiful. So it's great exercise. I highly recommend it for core work. And I'm in an apprentice troupe, which is the warm-up band to the Habibis, the professionals. And so I perform on stage and I make my own costumes. And I've decided the last 30 years of my life-ish, I'm going to have fun, do what I want, stay in my pajamas all day if I want to. And, just make pretty things and have fun and spend time with my grandkids.
Oh, that sounds good. So what is going on? What are you involved in now? Let me say hello to a few more people to come in. Hey, Patricia. Hey, Dream Journey One. Hey, Amy Bear. Thanks for being here today. We're going to be talking about Teresa's experiences that she's had with her alien or extraterrestrial friends today. And she's had a lot of experiences, and being on this channel has opened her up to a lot of more things that are going on with her. So, Teresa, do you want to start off with your first experience or how it started with you?
Well, my first memory of a visitation was when I was about 10. That was in the late 60s. And my family and I were watching TV. I remember it being daylight. One of my siblings was down the street visiting her friends away from the house. They come back and said, guys, there's a UFO across the street. Oh my God, come see it. Okay, and I'm like excited about this whole thing, but I could not move my body. I could not even move my eyes to look out the window. Okay, and I wasn't scared. I was more confused and frustrated. Okay, because I wanted to see an ET, big Star Trek fan. And so they came in several times, in and out and in and out. And by the time I could move my body and I jumped up off of the couch, it was gone. And my sibling has full details on the size, the shape, the lights, all that stuff. And I realized shortly after that that I had this little metal, I don't know, sliver or something in my forearm. And I was like, I don't remember getting that. And this story popped in my head. I don't know if it was implanted, but oh no, I had taken a pencil and jabbed it into my arm and broke off the pencil lead. And I went, I don't think so.
You're not going to do that.
I don't know what it was, but I know. So, I didn't think much about it, but, I lost time, paralyzed. Somebody saw the craft, implanted, all this stuff. And I just haven't thought about it much until was an adult and I started watching tarot channels, and then that turned me on to Danny Shea, and Danny Shea mentioned about the ETs and Danny Shea. And then I got to Gail, and then the whole cosmos exploded my reality.
So do you want to start talking about some of that reality explosion?
Well, okay. I am, and always have been, a lucid dreamer. I remember my dreams and I can interact in my dreams. And I remember even as a small kid having flying dreams where I couldn't really control what was going on. I was just like floating in the air. I used to, when I was a kid, see what I thought were ghosts, because that's the only frame of reference I have, were ghosts in my room. Okay. And then I had weird dreams, lucid dreams. Like I had this one dream where I was on assignment. I had a purpose. There was this building. It was like film noir. It was one of those dark, broody warehouses. And I was there because people were being held by the alphabet agencies, and I won't name them,
Right.
in this building. And so it was my job, if I decide to choose it, Mission Impossible reference, to go in and free these people. And so I get into the building, and then the first door I open, and there's people in there, and it's all like, oh my God, you guys should be quiet, go out that door.
I'm just going to stop you right there because I want you to look at what Debbie's saying. Kind of freaked me out about the pencil incident. I have that, and the friend that stabbed me doesn't remember that incident.
Yeah, okay, there you go. Yeah, it turned out the implant was benign, so not problems there. So anyway, I'm in the building, I'm opening up doors, and it seems to be a tall, skinny building because there's only a couple rooms, and I open it up and let the people out. It's real dark, so I can't see a lot of detail. And eventually, as I'm going up the tower, I realize that I'm now inside of a crystal. Okay. And that these doors are actually portals. Okay. So I'm letting people out of this portal and sending, it's okay. You guys need to go that way, and you guys need to go that way. And the rest of you go down there. And so, I'm doing this for a while, all the while, sense of danger, because if I get caught, I'm in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So I get discovered, and they start chasing, whoever they are, start chasing me up the stairs. And the now crystal tower ends in a room that has a balcony, and I lock the door, but they're breaking in. So I jump, and sorry, I got allergies, my nose is itching. So I decide the only way out is to leap through the balcony. So I do that. I'm no fear, just, and so I leap out, and now I'm in the mountains in a mountain valley. So it's a whole different scenery. And I jump out the balcony, and I land on the back of a dragon.
Yeah. Okay.
How it knew I needed it, but it was an Asian dragon, and I jumped on the back of the dragon, and we took off. So that was a dream that made absolutely no sense to me, right, until I now have this framework and going, oh, that was a rescue mission. Okay, got it. Okay.
Well, I like to go into, because we talked about it a little bit backstage about how you thought you were just an earth person and you were doing shamanism, and then how that transformation has changed for you, how your process has changed.
Totally. Got it. Okay. So again, lucid dreams, many past life dreams. Okay. And I lost my train of thought. Tell me again.
About you being an earth person.
Oh, and so I knew I had been on Earth for a long time, and I thought my soul originated on Earth, that I've only been on Earth. Because I know there's other planets, but everybody says there's no life on it. Okay. So when I realized that, yes, I have been visited, have gone on ships many times. And then Gail told me that I've lived on other planets. It was like, oh my God. Okay. So it takes a while to cope with that, to integrate it into the thing. So it's just opened up my whole world, as far as, instead of being a little myopic earthling, I'm, this multiracial being whose soul been around longer than Earth has been informed. And that takes a little while to integrate.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also a trained shaman. So now with my lucid dreaming and my shamanism, I'm going back to re-examine some of the dreams I had, some of the memories I've had that made no sense. Okay. So that's been good. And because of the shamanism and my lucid dreaming, I can now have a conscious participation in my galactic adventures. Because that was where
a lot of people wanted to know how to connect that are in the chat. So how did you go from earth shamanism to being able to connect with your galactic friends?
Okay, so a few years ago, I was having a lot of problems journeying, which is usually easy for me. And all of my earth guides.
Can you explain journeying to people?
Oh, sure. Okay, journeying is, well, the way I was trained, you enter a theta state, which is deeper than like sleep, like a meditative state. Mm-hmm. And then through intent, you can go and visit certain things or see certain things or get information or healings. So it's like meditation, but I use sound to activate my ability to go into that deeper.
I also use drumming. For me, it's drumming.
Yes, drumming. Yes. And so on the journeys, so I couldn't journey for a while. I went to a council of wise women, and they brought down a guide from the heavens to be my guide. And I call him Star Child. He was just a luminous, starry being. Okay. And so with him, I was able to connect to Golden Guy, who I realize now is probably a Solarian or something. Mm-hmm. And so now with these galactic guides, I am able to go into space, and I was having some medical issues, and I asked my galactic guides. Now I have lost, and so I got 3 of them. And I said, I'm having problems with this hiatal hernia, which I've had forever. I would really like it to be done. So they took me in a journey. So I'm conscious, and they take me to the med ship. Okay. And so we're moving through space, and I get on the med ship. Okay. And they put a bubble of protection over me. And at this point, it's like I have just tunnel vision, and everything's like a little fuzzy. So I don't see a lot of detail. So the 3 of us were walking down the hallways, and I am being such a tourist. Oh, who's that? Oh, what does that room do? Oh, wow, is that your break room? Oh, what do you guys eat? What do you guys eat? Okay. Oh God. I like.
Don't ask for their food to eat it.
No. I wasn't going to eat, but I was just being curious. So
Yeah.
Lawson is here on my right shoulder, and I hear Lawson talking to Galactic Guy and Star Child about, she can hear us? And I went, yep. And he went, wow, she is curious. And I went, yep. And that was fun. Because, I hope they didn't read my whole mind, everything I was thinking.
Of course they did. They knew everything.
Shoot.
They just don't react the same way as we do.
Because I'm thinking, I'm not some dumb blonde primate, okay? Oh, I'm so irreverent. So they took me to a chamber and I was scanned, and then they took me into another room where there was a med bed. And I'm laying on the med bed. I'm going, wow, this is a lot like Star Trek. This is cool. Okay.
I've got a storm going on here, so we just. All right, Teresa, come back because we went off line there for a few minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm surprised we came right back on, but I do have a storm going on. So back up just a little bit when you were talking to Lawson and you already told him about, you weren't a dumb blonde, basically. And
I'm not a dumb primate. Yeah. So then they took me to a room. It was like a CAT scan, but it was vertical, and this ring of light went up and down my body. Okay. And then they took me to another room, and all this is in like light blue light. And they laid me down on a med bed and they prepped me for surgery. And I'm going, well, this is cool. This is a lot like Star Trek. So I'm looking around. And then all of a sudden I hear out of my ear, I hear this chittering, clicking noise. And I'm going, no way. Because I'm thinking, oh my God, it's a mantis. All right. So I look over and yes, indeed, my surgeon is a mantis. And again, geeky human. I said, oh, hi there. My name is Teresa. So at this point, I turn into the observer and the observed. I can see myself on the table. I can see what the mantis is doing. And they got a laser light and they're stitching closed the hiatal hernia, the rip in the diaphragm, and so he's pulling it tight. And again, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I thought this is it. So this is what a turkey feels like. Okay. Not realizing that they could probably hear me. So anyway, so we were all fixed up and we left the ship. So that I was so excited when I came out of the journey, like, oh my God, I actually remember it and I did it. This is so cool.
And I hope you wrote it down.
I sure did. I have notes and notes and notes. But even before going to the galactic ship, right after you told me about, started opening up my brain about, the galactic realm dimension, I decided that I was going to be active. So I always say prayers, put myself in blue light, and I stated the intent out loud that I know you came to visit me when I was a kid. They weren't the ghosts, it was the galactics. And you scared me, but I'm an adult now. I'm not afraid anymore. I want to be an active in this. Okay. So why don't we do it slowly, and you come into my dreams. Give me a lucid dream of a galactic experience. So the first night, I'm just about asleep, and I hear all this noise in my kitchen. Okay, well, it's not my cats. It's not a mouse. Okay, and so I figured it was an answer to my, they were just letting me know they were there. Okay. So the second night, I had a dream where I was walking, and I was walking with a tent. I felt like I was being herded, like dogs do with sheep. Mm-hmm. And again, it was tunnel vision, so I couldn't see a lot. But I was aware that there was these little kids or animals, running around. So I looked down to my left, and I said, "Oh, hi, you're a gray, aren't you?" And the gray looked up at me. And I could sense it was so happy and excited that I could actually see it. All right. And that's when the dream ended. So then the third night that I did this, I was aware that there was, and I saw it with my third eye because my eyes were closed. And I saw a gray peeking around the corner of my kitchen, looking into my bedroom. And I said, yep, I see you. I know you're there. I'm not opening my eyes and I'm not getting out of bed. And then I was asleep. So that's how I'm using dreams and my ability to journey to increase my awareness.
Yeah, well, Trisha's here is talking about a connection with star beings happened during meditation about 2 years ago. Asked them why here, said we are here, welcome wagon to say hello and we'll be back.
There you go.
Yes, and I believe, let's see, I think we have another comment down here with, I guess Debbie had another comment. I wish I had my childhood journal where I took notes about my nightmares concerning a light in the sky, followed by a doctor in white. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I suggest everybody who is having any kind of experiences to write them down, because you think you're going to remember all that, but you don't. I mean, I go back now and look at some of my journals and I'm going, oh my gosh, I don't remember that happening. I'm so glad I wrote it down. So I would suggest everybody be sure you write down your experiences, because you might remember tidbits of it, but not the whole thing, or you might not remember any of it. And especially during dreams, and you wake up in the middle of the night and you go, I'm never going to forget that dream. And you go right back to sleep and you wake up and the only thing you remember is you weren't going to forget about that dream, but you didn't remember the dream. So be sure to have something beside your bed to write on, or either I use my phone and do the voice thing on my phone because it's always right beside my bed. And you just have to say a few words, or either write down just a few words. You don't have to come all the way awake and write it all down. Just a few words that will jot your memory. So anyway, so Teresa, so tell us where you are now with all this, because you've come through such a big journey in such a short time.
I'm excited. I'm having so much fun. This is, because I've gotten to the point in my life where I've done all the things that society says you're, supposed to do. So this is my time. And this has brought an excitement and something to look forward to, something to explore, because I'm a curious kid, always have been. And it's helping me make sense of, like I say, because I've got dozens of dream journals and journeys and stuff. And now I'm able to go understand and get a deeper understanding of what I experienced in that dream state or in the journey. Like, I remember when I was a kid, no, I was a young adult, which is basically a kid now. I had a dream where
I was just laughing at Trisha saying, I write about everything down, even with basic drawings. And yes, Dr. Gail, I'm writing legibly. And how that goes, everybody, is they told me to write everything down, but having a medical background, I'm a shorthand writer. I was not writing descriptions or any lengthy. And then they told me I had to write a book, and then I had to go back and read these things. And so I tell everybody, be sure to do descriptions, do pictures, do all those kind of things, because it will come in handy in the future. But go ahead, Teresa.
Totally. So I had a dream where I was floating and I was in this tunnel with something swirling all around me, and I didn't know what it was. And I finally figured out, I'm in a wormhole. Okay, so I'm having a dream. I'm in a wormhole and I'm floating around, and planets are kind of popping along the edges. And then all of a sudden, this one planet blocks my progress, and it's not Earth. It's a red and blue planet. And I have no idea why I had that dream, but I wrote it down and I saved it. And now that I have the galactic reference, I realized that was a planet that I had lived on before. Mm-hmm. And I asked my galactic guides, about this. And they said, yeah, you lived on that planet. It's in the Arcturan system. And they said you were homesick. So you just went back there.
I've only gone and visited home because I'm Arcturian. I've only gone and visited my home one time. And the reason I have not gone back is because I did not want to leave. I cried all the way away from there. And I went, I cannot go back until I finish what I'm supposed to do. Because if I go back again, I will never leave.
Yeah. But just because I'm also scientifically trained, I have a bachelor's of science. So my science brain kicked it. My creative brain and my science brain are kind of at war sometimes. So I've been verifying things with a pendulum, just to make sure I'm not making up stories in my head.
Right. Yeah. And that is a good way to verify. But sometimes I have to give a little bit of warning about reading on yourself or the pendulum, using a pendulum for everybody. And this is including me. When the outcome affects you, sometimes you affect the pendulum on what the answer is. So it's easy to use a pendulum on somebody where the outcome doesn't affect you at all. But sometimes when the outcome affects you, you might have a little bias on what that pendulum does. So just be careful on what you are asking. Like, for example, should I move to this house or that house? Well, in your mind, you like this house better. So the pendulum is going to go, oh, yeah, that house. So you have to be just really careful sometimes on using the pendulum to make sure that the outcome's not going to affect you and that you're mentally trying to control that pendulum. Just make sure that the outcome isn't going to affect you.
No, good point. Good point. But I just like when they say something in the journey, I say, okay, now
that doesn't affect you, and so that would be okay.
Yeah.
That outcome does not affect you.
Yeah. It's just like, okay, I just want to verify what I was told in this dream. Did it, was it actually a planet I lived on? Yes. So that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So did you get the name of that planet?
It told me Zedi 3.
Did you write it down?
I did.
Okay.
I wasn't sure of the spelling, so I don't know if it's Zedi or Zedi. And it's in the Arcturian system. And the guide said that humans will not discover this planet for many lifetimes.
Yeah.
So I don't know where to go with that, but okay.
But here's Patricia. She's talking about the pendulum also. She says, me too. I do pendulum verification. I always connect into a higher being, even my higher self. And I say, tell me true as you always do, and let the truth come through, which is true. Yes. And the pendulum is great because I use it for verification also. And I use it for verification even on the shows answering questions because the outcome does not affect me when I'm reading on other people. So, yeah, the pendulums are great. Yes, Akila's saying, I'm loving hearing Teresa's dreams as well as the ones in the comments. Folks look at me crazy when I share my dreams. Well, yeah, Akila, that's what this kind of channel's been created for, is people don't understand it. If they're not having extraterrestrial or alien experiences, they really don't understand what you're going through. And you can't really fault them on that. If they're not having experiences, they just can't identify. They don't understand it. So, all right, Teresa, what's next?
Well, I don't know. What do you want
to know? Well, I'm curious about your shamanic things that you were doing before you were connected to the extraterrestrials, because to me, I was the exact opposite. I'm connected to the extraterrestrials and then shamanic practices. So I went exactly the opposite way. So how have you made the leap with the connection of the extraterrestrials, your shamanic practice? Because obviously you thought shamanic practicing was more earthbound.
Right. Well, the guides that I worked with were all, earth-based goddesses, gods, animals. And, okay, so let me go back. You're asking, well, I've always been able to interact like I was a shaman before I knew what shamanism was. Like I would have dreams and I would talk to animals and crystals would come. And so I was always kind of doing that before I knew I was doing anything different than anybody else. And then I had what some people call a shamanic crisis. All right. Um, in my late 20s, I experienced agoraphobia. Like I could not leave my house to go out to my mailbox, which for an
It's,
extroverted extrovert is hell.
I know it's pretty amazing how there's so many, like in the chat or readers that haven't been affected by that.
Agoraphobia? Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Good to know.
it's not uncommon.
No, no, it's not. But that's what started my healing process. I started meditating. I started, Tai Chi. I mean, it was a many layered and a village of people to help me get through that, where I'm totally cured. Okay. But as part of that healing process, I followed the trail of breadcrumbs that spirit gave me to shamanism. Okay, because I had done sweat lodges and walked on hot coals and you know all that stuff. And so the formal training of shamanism began as part of my healing from that. And I found, and even my teacher said I had a natural ability. Some people struggle.
Here's hypnosis, right?
Yeah.
I want to help her with this. I'm wondering if a hermit mode will lead to agoraphobia. I hope not. No, hypnosis. No, not necessarily. I'm just saying that a lot of readers know have gone through that. But being a hermit, sometimes you just need to be a hermit just to get out of everybody's energy. So don't think that that will lead to always lead to that. And I also find it more of a younger person thing, or I don't know. I shouldn't say that, but don't worry about that. She's going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
In fact, if that was the truth, some days I would think I would be aggravated because I want
Ooh,
to
heard that.
get. Yeah, this thunderstorm is staying right on top of me.
So now I think a conversation you and I had, Gail, is that you were told that the agoraphobia was actually brought on by other forces, like a psychic attack. So, okay. So, but anyway, so the shamanism, and then, the shamanism helped me to open up, gain a lot of wisdom and healing. And like I had I've done shamanic, I know psychopomp and curse
Look,
unraveling and all that.
look at what Millie's saying. She says she thought she was in the hermit stage of her journey. Interesting info. I haven't had any of that, but one day I came from the yard and said, I'm a shaman. Go ahead. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So, and now the shamanism is helping me explore my galactic alter ego or second life or whatever.
You're the one aspect of your life.
One aspect of my life, yes. Yes. So that's very interesting.
Okay. Hypnotist is saying, I'm curious about shamanism. Let me see what she's saying here. I'm curious about shamanism. I know I'm an energy healer on some level. Yes, shamanism to me, I've been curious about it too, and I've learned a lot about it. Even though I don't consider myself a shaman, but I've been interested in learning how to do the journeys and learning all about it, and the medicine wheel, things like that. But it seems like to me, I have absorbed a lot of that just from listening to people talk. So, can you address that for hypnosis about being an energy healer and shamanism?
Well, now there are many lineages of shamanism. Now, I'm a graduate of Michael Harner's Foundation for Shamanic Studies. He was an anthropologist, was down in South America, did ayahuasca, had his first journey. But being a scientist, he studied all the different cultures that had shamanic, and he distilled them into what he calls core shamanism, which is more palatable for the Western
Right.
mindset. And but I've also I've studied with Tibetan healers, shamans, and Mayan shamans, and Celtic shamans, and which is where I found out with the Celtic shaman, Tom Cowan. We did fairy doctoring, and I was invited into the fairy realm, and yeah, they welcomed me. They said I was of the Fae. I don't know. I haven't explored that, but they said I'm of the Fae.
Mhm.
So, but the shamanism, it's mostly most shamanic cultures use sound, percussion to get into the alter state. Others use like ayahuasca and peyote, which I don't do. Um,
I'm not even interested in that. And I'm
no,
not saying anything bad about it, but
no,
that's just not, I don't need it for sure.
yeah, I'm altered enough. I don't need to put chemicals in my body to alter me. So,
Yeah. Here's Millie saying, I think it was me in my many past lives. I remember wanting to take a medicine wheel course in the early 2000s. My mom is Peruvian, so it might also be a genetic thing. Yeah, I would say definitely probably a genetic thing.
yeah, yeah.
So anything else on that? Because I got a few questions here
Sure.
and more directed towards me. Um, and Jill, I think she has put this in quite a few times, and she's wanting to know if she has an implant. Jill, are you here in the chat right now? Because I'd like to ask you a few questions. Um, you want to know if you have it. First off, I'm wondering why you're concerned about that, and I just don't think I've been able to get to your question during our lives. So I'm going to see if you have an implant, but I'm going to, and I'm getting that yes, you do have an implant, Jill. You do have an implant. Okay, good. So I can ask you some questions. She's here. So what is the reason why you're concerned about that? Because I'm feeling like it's only a good thing, Jill. It's where they're giving you direct information from your galactic friends. You've always been suspicious you've always suspected this for years. Okay. Well, I'm verifying it that you do, but yours is not a bad one. Yours is a good one. And I'm getting very much of a yes that it's good that you got. And I don't know where it's located, but they're showing me your ear. Like they're showing me like the crevice of your ear or a place where you might feel it, but you can't see it. Let's see what it said. You feel it's good too. I think that it's a communication issue. I feel like I'm getting daily communication at this point. You're exactly right, Jill. That is what's going on. You're getting communication, and it's a direct link for you to get that communication. And they're telling me, they're saying, we don't have to go fumbling through that 3D stuff. We're just going right to you and waking you up on what's going on or the information that they don't have to fight through the 3D things. So, this is what she's saying, that the air would make sense because the tones that I hear are pretty intense. Okay. All right. So anyway, you are getting a lot of information, and hopefully you'll be able to share that with us. I don't know if you can share it with us now. Jill, do you have anything that you can share with us now? Okay. Oh, you're welcome, Jill. You're welcome. And be sure, as I said, write everything down that you're getting information, because apparently some information is pretty important. You just you only had the question that I would have going through my head. I hear answers right away. Yes, yes, that is them giving you those answers, Jill. So look at you getting that information. You have anything to say about that, Teresa?
No, cool. I think I have an implant in my ear too. So
I'm sure you have an implant. I don't even question about that. And then, of course, I'm getting a yes, you do. But
because I hear buzzing. Didn't you say like if you hear a lot of buzzing or something or frequency changes?
right, and my left ear always is at a constant information receiving, my left ear. And when it cranks up, I'm going, okay, do I need to lay down for this? Because you're overloading me. And you can tell them to back off. And but then when both my ears are going, that means I'm getting ready to go on a journey. I'm getting ready to go on a mission.
Oh,
So they're preparing me for that. Let's see what else I'm seeing. Millie saying, like being claircognizant or clairaudient. Yes. But yeah, it's my ear ringing. And a lot of people have that. And, for one time, at first I thought it was aggravating. Then it's like, oh yeah, I'm getting information now. Oh, good. Come on, bring it on. But when it's too much, I tell them to crank it down. Patricia saying, I hear frequencies. So we should say, I hear frequencies, or what I call the sound current, all the time. It even tells me when I'm not doing well. It gets wonky. Say, yes, tune into those things, everybody, if you're having that, because it is information that's coming in. And some of it's helpful information about your own health and what you're doing. I mean, there's times that I have to go to bed to take a nap for the information coming in. And then sometimes they're wanting me to do that to go on a journey or a rescue mission. But let me see who else has a question here. But I'm glad I finally got to your question, Jill. I know you have put it in a few times. Okay. And Tricia, I think we already did that. Yes. And let's see, we have Lisa. I would like to be introduced to my galactic family. I have no idea who they are. Well, I immediately heard Palladians, but let me verify that. Okay. This is the Palladians. And I'm getting a yes, Lisa. It's the Palladians. And again, I'm terrible about spelling. Pleadians, I think. If anybody can put that spelling for her, Lisa, how you spell Palladians, so she can look them up. But that's who you are affiliated with, your galactic family, and feel like they're contacting you all the time, or you're contacted with them, or they're watching you all the time. So, Lisa, you're very connected with them. I don't know if you're still here, Lisa, but there you go. It's the Palladians. Hello, Paul. Hey, White Dragon. Thanks for being here today. And we've got a few more people who've come in since. Now, I'm going back and forth all over the place here. Okay, I'm getting ready to mute because I'm going to cough. So, so go ahead, Teresa, talk about something.
Well, I have been used shamanic journey to go aboard ship several times, not just that first time when I acted like such a tourist. Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Millie, for putting the lady in. Go ahead. Go ahead. Talk about your shamanic journeys and trying to go to this ship.
Okay. So I keep going to the same med ship, and I've never asked who it was, because the last time I went there, I asked, but I was in such a state, my brain was all foggy. I couldn't answer it. But there was one time where there was something really serious going on, and instead of a little tour of the ship, they immediately took me to a room that was a stasis chamber. Okay, just like in Star Trek, they put this. Okay, so things were done, and then I was put into a liquid tank that was like effervescent, like it was blue water to kind of recuperate and heal from what I had just been experienced. And my 3 guides were there, and the mantis surgeon, asked him to stay, to keep me company while I was, floating around in this tank. And I got an emotional release, which happens a lot when you have a healing. Well,
I'm going to back you up on this healing.
All right, you back me up.
Because a lot of what you're describing is the place on the Athena.
Oh.
Because the reason why I'm not saying that is because I go into a room, and it's usually when we're working on soldiers most of the time. It's a lot of people who've been in battle and that we're working on or we're healing. We put them in tanks and separate their soul from their body for their body to heal. And then we have the cloning area. If you want your body back, we have the tanks where your body is rejuvenated and you get your body back. Or we have the cloning place where you get a new body. So I'm feeling like the way you're describing this it's that room.
It sounds very, very possibly, yes, because it was an intense thing. I had a lot of.
Yeah, it was Athena.
Oh,
And,
was it?
and you had been on a mission, and you had pretty much had a fatality on that mission. We were
It
putting
was
you.
intense.
We were putting you back together.
Oh, Frankenstein.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you say that because one of our first people that I was working on, that I remember working on, and I had worked on him several times, called me Dr. Frankenstein all the time. Yes. And it was, I had seen him too many times. And so he'd go, okay, Dr. Frankenstein, put me back together. Yeah, because he was definitely a military person who was always in war.
Oh, well, that makes sense because I noticed a scratch on my stomach and I could not remember where that scratch had come from. But so I was floating in the tank and I was having an emotional, release about this whole thing. I was feeling very vulnerable.
I'm sure you were, with your soul out of your body.
Yeah. So I asked my 3 guys, galactic guys, I said, I know this is a human thing. I don't know if you guys even do this, but I really need a group hug. Can we have a group hug? And the surgeon said I could get out of the tank. So we just had this hug. So again, being a human, I needed a hug. It felt good.
Well, they brought me in all the time, and I had to talk to the people who were in the tank, especially the people when it was the first time that they separated from their body, from their soul, that I did have to go in there to calm them down because they would start freaking out. Now, the ones who had done it several times didn't freak out.
No.
I was in there. I was like therapy. I would have been the one probably would have been one of the ones that brought you out and hugged you. But I would have to go in and do those kind of things for the soldiers that were in this tank who, for the first time, had separated and they were not emotionally handling it well.
Well, thank you for giving me that perspective. Because again, I only had half the information. And like I said, it was like a crisis. It was like if there had been, an ambulance making noise, it wouldn't have been any more. But no, I was pretty calm in there. I was just kind of, hanging out, and this is fine. I just felt so violated.
Yeah.
By the attack or whatever was going on.
Right. You were upset that had happened to you and that you're having to get a new body. And
so now the new body, if I go up again, can I ask for a younger, thinner body? Will they do that?
Well, when you go up, aren't you going in as a younger you?
Yes, that's true. Yes.
So you're getting your younger, thinner body when you go up.
All right. I like it. I'll stay with that.
Yeah, because most of us do. We see ourselves as a younger person than what we actually are when we go up and do these things. Mm-hmm. So, but I was going to say, one of the other things that might have upset you was before you go into that room, there's another room that you have to make a decision if you want to stay as a human on Earth or whatever being it might be, or stay in that body, or do you want to transition and get out of there and get another body, another life, go to another planet. So there's another room before you even hit that place where we fix you back up, that you have to make that decision. So that's a real emotional time. That's very much of an emotional time too, making that decision, sitting there when your body's all beaten up and you're dying, that I've got to make a decision now, whether do I want to rehab this body or do I just want to get out of here and go somewhere else?
Fascinating. I don't remember that room, but emotionally it makes sense.
Right.
I was feeling the emotions that I felt.
Right.
But I had already made the decision with Golden Guy and Star Child. They had both said that, I'm finished with my karmic wheel. I can choose to go anytime. There's nothing more I need to do or to be or whatever. And I think that was a veiled offer to end my earthly existence and move on to what was next. And I had already declined. I said, when Golden Guy, showed me the galactic overlook and said, well, pick one. Where you want to go next?
Mhm.
I said, no, I'm choosing to stay here for a while longer. So
Right.
interesting.
Yeah, there's a whole team that comes in and has that, because I'm not part of that part of it. I just know a whole team comes in and makes that discussion on what you do. I'm the one that takes you to the healing part. When you decide to stay in that body, I take you into this other room.
All right. I'm going to integrate that one here in a minute.
So that's the Athena, and that's the whole purpose of the Athena was that. And White Dragon is a big part of the Athena. He is more on the military side. I was actually, when I was there, in charge of the military and the medical. I wasn't as much hands-on there as I was overseeing what was happening, and but he was very hands-on on the military side, and we did some humongous big missions. And as I said, most of the things that were going on was healing the soldiers that had been injured on that spaceship, and children and people who we were rescuing were coming through there also. That we had to, the children that we were rescuing had to go through a whole different area because because they were traumatized, we had to change their brain waves, which we have the ability to, like somebody who has a traumatic experience on Earth that's integrated in our bodies and affects us all our life. When we're on the spaceship and these children were having traumatic experiences, we have the ability on the spaceship to go in and change their brain waves where they remember the traumatic experience, but it doesn't physically affect them like it does humans. And so
Or like my memory of poking myself with a pencil instead of really being an implant, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. White Dragon saying the missions and tasks are getting bigger. Yes. So, but anyway, that's a lot what's going on that spaceship. And I had thought about all those things that we did on that spaceship in quite a while. Thank goodness I have written that down.
Yes. Well, the latest time that I've been there was just like a few days ago. I called my guides, and there was a fourth presence that I did not invite, that I did not feel comfortable with. And I said, I don't know who you are or what you want, but I don't know you, and I didn't invite you, so you need to leave. But it wouldn't leave. So my three guides whisked me off to apparently the Athena. And as we were getting close to the Athena, these smaller ships came out of the Athena and formed a line between me and whatever was following us. So,
Right.
All right. That makes sense now. Okay.
Now, that's not where you always go get your healing, is on the Athena, because I'm getting that you actually go to a Palladian spaceship to do the med beds and things. This was just a different experience when you were a soldier, and that you went on that. And this experience that you remember is that because it was so different than any other experience. Because when you go in the med beds, you're like, okay, let's put me in a med bed, let me help you, I'm on my way. But that experience when you went on the Athena,
That was intense.
that was intense. You had to decide whether you wanted to stay there or go, and and then you had to make a decision: do we rehab this body or do I get a new body? So there was a lot of big decisions that had to be made on the Athena that you had never faced before.
So I'm on Palladian ships too? Oh
Well, yeah, I believe you're going to the bed beds on the Palladian ships, and it's like a Palladian hospital. And I'm getting a yes. That's where you're just going for healing, because it's not like you're working on that spaceship. It's just that's where they take you to heal you on the normal stuff. Like the White Dragon say, what in the world are you talking about, White Dragon and Diana? I'm gonna have to go way up to see what y'all started off talking about. But okay, I'm not real sure. But anyway, it sounds like an interesting conversation. But well, we have just a few minutes left, Teresa. Is there something that you want to tell everybody, maybe to relieve their mind, or tell them some last thing that they should know about their experiences, or what they should do, maybe to remember them, or how to integrate it into their life?
Wow. That's not just a simple thing. But I have found that being a shamanic practitioner, I'm an outlier of mainstream society anyway. So I've learned to trust what I'm seeing and what I'm experiencing, and not to let the muggles, we all know what muggles are, right?
Let
Harry
them know.
Potter. Oh, Harry Potter, big Harry Potter fan. I would go to Hogwarts in a second. But muggles are not non-magical people. Okay. So just trust the process, find a way so that whatever works for you, meditation, tai chi, whatever, it helps to be able to do that, to verify it, so it's not a fantasy that you're making up. That, okay, yeah, pendulum told me, yeah, that did happen.
Right.
But just trust yourself, and trust the process. And one of the biggest things I've learned is it's like I've been playing checkers and now I'm playing 5D chess, no pun intended. Yeah, you just have to be patient with it. It's weird.
Okay. Diana, I'm seeing with Diana. She says, Dr. Gill, when we are up there, could we ask for greater determination to increase our better health and strength? I think you can ask for anything you want, Diana, but you have to remember they're working with a 3D body. There's not so much that they can do with that except for like kind of put it back together. The only way I think a lot of those things get better is you decide to get out of that human body and go into a different body. But being in the human 3D body, you can ask for those things, but there is only so much they can do with that body. Now, hypnosis is saying moguls are not awakened.
Yes, they're 3D entities, and the magical people are 4, 5, 6, 10, whatever. So yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Diana say, "Oh yeah, there is that." So, all right, everybody, thanks for joining us today. Interesting story, Teresa. Thanks for sharing it with us. You have to keep us updated on what's going on. But my next show will be Saturday, where we'll be doing color therapy. Also, I just did an interview with Mary that'll be going up Sunday on her channel. So go ahead and join in or take a look at that. But anyway, thanks again, Teresa. And we'll see y'all later. All right, bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, Galactic Tribe.
All right, bye-bye.